Man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. This is the reason why I was such a big fan of that Kell Brook and GGG fight. Because look at what's going on now, man. Tunes have changed around the boxing world because of that fight. First off, look at Kell Brook. This dude is getting offers from everybody across the board now. At least everybody that's not a welterweight. Canelo Alvarez wants him. Liam Smith said he'll fight him. He has no shortage of big fights now. All because he stepped up and showed the world and demanded his respect. Now you look at Gennady Golovkin now. Couldn't get a fight with no one. Remember that's always been the story with Gennady Golovkin. And now we see Daniel Jacobs coming to the table, calling out Gennady Golovkin, the WBA enforcing that fight, and both sides are talking like they got some sense. We see Canelo Alvarez offering Gennady Golovkin 8 figures or more to fight him, and he's willing now to come to the full-fledged 160, which leads me to changing my tune on something. After the Liam Smith and Canelo fight, when I did my post-fight video, I mentioned how Oscar De La Hoya had offered Gennady Golovkin's camp, that flat rate, as they would talk about at the time. One flat low rate in order to fight Canelo Alvarez. Or they were going to offer him, 90-10 split, from what I recall, And then I look and I see Tom Loeffler, who is in the Gennady Golovkin's camp, come out and say, oh, yeah, well, Golden Boy, there's no issues about weight. The fight is going to go down at the full-fledged 160. And, yeah, they've offered us, roughly about 8 figures. So we know that's 10 million or better. With these revelations now being known, which is a respectable offer, ladies and gentlemen, I think Gennady Golovkin should reconsider if he makes it through Daniel Jacobs and if he does get the Billy Joe Sanders fight and he fights him also. But if he makes it to Canelo Alvarez and they get a fight on, I think that offer should be not a bad offer. I originally went against this because I am for all boxers and fighters being treated equally and fairly. And I just think it's a dumb. I hate it when Mayweather used to do it. Offer 90. Oh, I'll take 90%. And I'll give you 10%. It'll be your biggest payday of your career, but I'm going to get the bulk of the money. I hated when that went down between Mayweather and Pacquiao. Well, I'll send Manny Pacquiao $40 million. Yeah, while the other side makes $300 million, right? That's the type of deal it is. It's the biggest payday in his career, but the other side will make out like a fat rat. You know what I mean? So I've always been against that. But the difference was in that situation and this situation is that Manny Pacquiao brought just as much to the table, I thought at the time, that as Floyd Mayweather did. He brought a fan base. He brought a country. He can go to other fighters and make 8-figure salaries easy. It didn't take Floyd Mayweather for Manny Pacquiao to make 8 figures. And he would have been probably just all right. So in that particular case where Manny Pacquiao is bringing a significant attraction to this particular fight, he should have been more well compensated as he got once the fight was finally announced. And in Gennady Golovkin's case, I thought about the same way. But then I thought, hey, hold on now. The difference is Gennady Golovkin doesn't have anyone outside of Floyd Mayweather, which is an improbable fight. Anyone that he can fight on this planet that he will make 8 figures with. Not even Daniel Jacobs. And this fight has been long wanted for quite some time by most boxing fans. I've been wanting this fight for a long time. And so even in that particular fight, I don't expect Gennady Golovkin to make 8 figures. Because neither man is this overwhelming draw. They're just not cash cows, if you will. We seen what Triple G did on pay-per-view with David Lemieux. Granted, it was his first pay-per-view. But it didn't do well. It didn't do well at all. The initial viewing of the Kell Brook fight didn't do astronomical. I heard it did pretty well once the reviewing happened later on that night and so on and so forth. And I heard the Sky Sports pay-per-view numbers wasn't half bad either. But as far as the initial viewing, and I'm sure Golden Boy will use that, it wasn't all that great. You know what I'm saying? So the point I'm making is that Gennady Golovkin won't make that money with anyone else. And then Canelo is willing to come to the full-fledged 160. This then, makes me go, I think that's a more decent offer. Canelo Alvarez easily is going to be bringing all the eyeballs to this fight. Let's just be real here. He has acquired a good resume in the sport of boxing. He's done decent things in the sport of boxing, enough to acquire a big fan base. He fights on the Mexican holidays 9 times out of 10, or should I say 9.9 times out of 10. If he fights Gennady Golovkin, that's exactly where that fight's going to happen at. They're talking September 2017, Mexican Independence Week, more than likely. So, all the attraction and the allure and the fanfare, basically the money generated in this particular fight, will mainly be because of Canelo Alvarez. There isn't a country or a humongous fan base behind Gennady Golovkin. And with that being known, you look at what's going to be exchanged here, or what's going to be up for grabs here. It'll be Gennady Golovkin with all of his belts, if he still has them, versus a Canelo Alvarez who wouldn't have probably any belt if he doesn't get to Billy Joe Saunders before Gennady Golovkin does. More than likely, he wouldn't have a belt. He'll just have recognition, and the recognition of being the cash cow. Right now, I'm giving Canelo passes, in my opinion, because I understand what the dude's doing. I know he lost the big court case, and I know he's in the hole to his former promoters, All Star Boxing Promotions, in which we lost roughly about $8 million. I understand they're waiting for an appeal for that, but as of right now, Canelo Alvarez lost. And that money comes out of Canelo Alvarez's personal money, not the Golden Boy company or the promotional company's money. No, Canelo is liable for that money. And so he's possibly making some of it now or making some of it back, whichever one, especially if he loses the appeal. But the fact still remains, man. Gennady Golovkin should really consider this. This is a respectable. At first, you look at what happened first before the Kell Brook fight. It was Canelo saying, "Hey, you're going to come down here to 155," and I heard nothing of an eight-figure payday. I heard nothing of an eight-figure payday, and I heard that he was making Gennady Golovkin come to 155 to fight at that time for a title, and I thought that was totally unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? But the goalposts have moved a little bit. And is actually more so in Gennady Golovkin's favor. I mean, he's not going to make this money with anyone, okay? He's never made this kind of money in his life, It's not like you're fighting another champion in which things should be more. No. You're fighting a guy for recognition. He's the former WBC champion, granted, at middleweight, granted. But he doesn't have any titles, and more than likely, if he doesn't get to Billy Joe Saunders, he won't have any titles when he faces when he faces Gennady Golovkin. So it will be for purely recognition purposes. And when you adhere yourself to that kind of fight, then it's all about money and fame and all that good stuff that comes with, super fights, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So it's all it's for. And in that case, this is a decent offer for Gennady Golovkin. And I understand Canelo and Golden Boy is going to make out like a fat rat here. I get it. I totally do. But if this is the reason that Gennady Golovkin is going to face this man is for money purposes, then this is the biggest payday that Gennady Golovkin's ever seen. And he ain't bringing the fanfare to this fight that's going to swell up this purse, unlike Mayweather and Pacquiao, in which both men brought a lot of things to the table. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be realistic here. This is how the fight game has always kind of went. Ain't nothing new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of got to go by those standards. It's been that way. It's always been that way. The premier boxer, the fan favorite, always got majority of everything. And in this particular case, we're looking at probably about 90%, because they're not even offering any, from what I understand, pay-per-view revenue of any sort, of any kind, to Gennady Golovkin. But it is what it is. I think he should reconsider, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Should Gennady Golovkin take this offer? Should he not? It's not like MayPac, ladies and gentlemen. It's a totally different thing here. Gennady Golovkin has no other big financial alternatives. I mean, outside of Canelo Alvarez, at least not at this present moment. Hell, if he fought Andre Ward, I don't even think he would get 8 figures for that fight. Up or under. I don't see anyone outside of Floyd Mayweather, maybe Miguel Cotto, and I stress maybe. That's about as far as it goes. So if Gennady Golovkin wants the cash, there you have it. That's what he's going to have to do. He was going to have to give up the house to Billy Joe Saunders as well. Because Billy Joe Saunders, with that last WBO belt, is going to milk the shit out of Gennady Golovkin. And we all know that. So it's either you get fucked in negotiations by Billy Joe Saunders, fucked in negotiations by Canelo Alvarez, but yet it's your biggest payday, or you could just continue to go on the path that you've already been going. And he's going to be criticized all the shit. That's the fight game for you. It's all about public perception, man. It's a trip. To the next video, Main Man, MayPac. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, MayPac511. Facebook, Main Man, MayPac. Boxing Forum, Google Plus, Main Man, MayPac. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow for any camp. And I know HBO is looking at this like, yo, how much are we getting out of this again? You know what I'm saying? So it's a big. Well, HBO controls Canelo and Triple G, so they'll be well compensated. But the fact still remains is that, man, you know, a lot of people are not going to be on board with that offer, and I totally get it. But at the end of the day, if Triple G wants Canelo, I think that's as good as the offer's going to get. To the next video. Peace out.